And if that is the only one responsible for saving you from a prison in an unfair, it was for your dog? This question may seem ridiculous at first glance, but trust me, it's stories like this do exist and cease any jaw drop. Picture the scene: a young, quiet, and driving his car through the streets of the city, accompanied by his loyal four-legged friend. So far, everything seemed to be normal for a day. No problems or suspicious. But all of a sudden, everything changed. A police car appears in your rearview mirror, turn on the lights, and in order for it to stop. At this time, with a mixture of surprise and anxiety, and even fear pervades the hearts of those who are there in the direction of the car. After all, who has never been in a situation like that, even if it's just in your imagination? And at that moment, all you had was our innocence and fairness due with your dog. Have you ever gone through this? Stay with me until the very end, because that's all you're going to find out now. You will be surprised. This is the true story reveals that sometimes what appears to be a tragedy, it may in fact conceal an unexpected turn of events. A nose made a knee-jerk reaction, and the loyalty of a dog which don't fully understand what was going on and decided to take action. Have you ever wondered how much an animal can either be smart or to be sensitive to some of the fine details that we, as humans, we spend? Keep track of this narrative, as it is capable of changing the perception of the connection between humans and their dogs. And what happened next was something no one could have imagined. In a moment of tension, suspense, and a real lesson of faith, loyalty, and courage, the young girl, in the depths of despair, he saw his world to turn upside down when the police found the drugs hidden in the car for drugs, which, in fact, it had never been there. But before that, everything had to be resolved. Then the behavior of a dog came into the scene, changing the course of history. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Do you want to know how a single bark could have saved a life? Then continue on to me, because this story is just about to apprehend from the beginning to the end. And one thing is for certain, though, what happened on that day, the proof that sometimes the greatest heroine in a story of injustice is a dog that, without a word, he has shown the value of the true faith. And in that moment, it all seemed to fit it all in a way that no one could have predicted. In the presence of a dog, your bark, long-lasting eye on the alert, it was like a red flag, which changed the course of the story. This little act of what seemed so simple has revealed a strength that is often overlooked in the rush of day-to-day. Each and every detail of that morning, it was marked in the memories of those who witnessed the scene, as it's a reminder that sometimes the most silent, they carry the greatest meaning. And it is precisely for this reason that stories such as this one deserves to be shared, because it can teach us about courage, hope, and the power of a true heart. This experience resonated with you. Here is an invitation to leave in the comments on this story stirred up on the inside. Have you ever lived through something like that? Or do you know someone who has been through a situation that is only one of the four-legged friend could change for me? To share these experiences, strengthen our community, and inspire others to value the little things, and stresses the importance of being aware of the messages the universe sends our way. In addition to this, if you like this content, please like the video. Your support will make a world of difference for more stories like this to reach out to more people. And of course, if you want to continue with this narrative that touches the soul, and subscribe to the channel. Here, every story is an opportunity to see the world with the most empathy and hope, and their participation is essential for this space to grow and to become stronger. So let's keep it together, because a lot of adventures yet to come in the future. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the transformation we seek is often hidden in the fine detail of our own making. It is as if, in everyday life, we are surrounded by a fog in the invisible, which prevents us from seeing clearly the possibilities that exist beyond what we already know. The truth is hidden. He is often in terms of how we think of our own obstacles, in the way that we respond to the difficulties that seem insurmountable, and the courage that we need to challenge what we believe to be the inevitable. When we pause to reflect on the choices we make, we see that they shape not only for the present, but of the whole of the journey. Each and every decision, however small it may seem, it has a profound impact on the direction direction that we went. And it is that time of the insights that we have begun to understand that many of the limitations in what we believe to be external, they are, in fact, of the buildings built. This habit of mind we cultivate, and the patterns of thinking that feed it, and work as a filter that determines what we can and cannot achieve. This is one of the great revelations of what many people come to discover when you decide to look into it with courage and honesty. The transformation was born there, from the understanding that real change comes from the inside out. Often, the biggest obstacle we are the same, stuck in the limiting beliefs that seem to be as solid as a wall. But at the same time, such a revelation, it brings a new hope. If we are able to identify these beliefs and to question them, we can rebuild our way of thinking and open up to new opportunities and ultimately unlock the potential that was always there, just waiting for an opportunity to show off. It is like a seed, that is, to provide the care that's right. It blooms into a beautiful, strong, and durable. Thinking about it leads us to think more deeply about the impact of our daily decisions. Each and every choice that we make in the course of the day, no matter how simple it may seem to choose one's attitude in a word, in a perspective of, you have the power to shape our reality. And this awareness is essential for those who want to truly change your life, because sometimes change doesn't happen from one minute to the next, but it is constructed in step by step, with simple actions that, taken together, make up a new story. A story of courage, hope, and self-awareness. To understand this dynamic, we have begun to realize that the key is in our willingness to face up to the truth it hides, that in the limit, it can also be the thing that drives us to seek out a better version of ourselves. And this requires courage, persistence, and a dose of curiosity to explore the behind the scenes of your own mind. It is in the universe and inside that is the greatest potential for transformation, for it is here that we decide if we're going to stay stuck at the same beliefs and if we're going to open the door to a new beginning. And if you make this choice, we can begin to see that everything seemed to be out of our reach. In fact, it's always been inside of you. It was enough to have just a change in perspective so that everything becomes possible. Thus, each step in this journey of self-discovery leads us to explore the deeper layers of the core, revealing the possibilities of it before seemed to be invisible beneath the surface of their daily routine. And in it, we discover that the truth is the most powerful. It is the courage to reinvent yourself, the challenge to the limit, and to believe that, yes, we are capable to turn to our history. Now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that transformation is not just a matter of willingness or you want to change to change. It is a process that involves understanding, accepting, and repurposing the things that we believe to be the truth. And in this way, many a times, we find the resistance to internal, which seem to be the biggest of which is our ability to overcome it. This is where it comes to the importance of these things as a part of the process, such as the lessons that prepare us for something bigger than themselves. After all, one of the greatest revelations that happen when we allow ourselves to see beyond the surface, when we get the chance to ask all the things that we were taught, including one's own certainty. On the basis of this understanding, we can begin to understand that true freedom is the ability to choose how we react to those circumstances. What is the impact of our actions, as small as it may seem to you, reverberates in our journey of building, destroying it, and the possibilities. And that, in essence, we are the architects of their own destiny, fashioning it with each and every decision, whether conscious or unconscious. This awareness gives us a huge responsibility, but it is also a freedom that is unparalleled, the one to decide the course of our history, rewrite our scripts in-house, and ultimately to find out the authenticity of which has always been hidden under the layers of insecurity and fear. And it is in this movement of self-knowledge and courage which we have begun to realize that the transformation is not a final destination, but a continuous journey, a process of the discovery of the small wins every day in the lessons that make us stronger and prepare us for the challenges ahead. A journey that leads us to understand that the truth is hidden. It is in our willingness to seek out answers inside, to challenge our own limits, and to embrace change as an opportunity for growth. Because deep down, all of the things that we look out there, it only makes sense when we're able, first, to achieve such a deep connection with ourselves, our values, our emotions, and our dreams more real. And then when we come into it deeper, we see that in this connection, it is the starting point for a life that is more in tune, more authentic, and more meaningful life. A life where our choices reflect who we really are, and not to those who believe that we need to be in order to please others or to fit into a preset mold. This is a space of freedom within it. We find the strength to carry on, even in the face of adversity, because we know what we're building something that is truly our own. And that's the biggest revolution you can do to transform your own mindset, to challenge the truths that are hidden, and thus to reveal all the potential that was always there, just waiting for an opportunity to manifest itself. He comments that it makes no sense to me. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because a lot of the time, this transformation is precisely what seems to be the most invisible in our everyday decisions. It is as if each was a seed planted in the soil of our minds and our hearts, and what we heard at the end of the day, it depends on what we decide to nurture them along the way. This is the awareness that we are responsible for the impact we make in our own lives is the first step towards a real change of mentality. When we understand that our actions, however small they may seem, they have a knock-on effect, we have started to look more closely at what really matters to you. The truth is hidden, often in a way that we see ourselves in the face of obstacles. The company, family members, and even our own inner voice may create an account or limitation of disability in fear. And that's what the power of people hold these truths. This is not to deny the existence of these problems, but the question is whether they will actually define who we are or what we can do. To believe in the possibility of transformation is about having the courage to break down those standards that have been imposed, and often don't even notice they are there. It is like taking a journey of self-discovery, revealing the deep layers of limiting beliefs, often inherited or acquired in the course of a year, and they need to be exposed to the light of consciousness in order to be solved. On this journey, the impact of the mind renewed is a lot. This is not just for achieving the goals of the outside, but a real revolution in the homeland, where the way we see the world and we ourselves are changed. This is where the journey becomes fascinating, to the letting go of old concepts and to give space for new possibilities, for the dreams that before seemed to be unattainable. And it is this inner freedom which we've achieved is what gives us the strength to go on, even when everything around you seems to indicate that we're going to go against the tide. Because deep down, we know that it is the greatest transformation happens in your mind, and it is the one that sets the pace for the whole of our lives. I now want to go more in depth on this topic because of that change of mind is not something that happens overnight. It is a solid construction and a decision to daily choose to think differently, act differently, and above all, believe it is different. And that, as simple as it may seem, is having an impact that resonates in all areas of our lives. From the way we think about the challenges to how we interact with the people around you. With each step taken in this direction, it is a statement of what we truly believe in our ability to evolve and to rewrite the history, the challenge, the hidden truth that is sought to be limited for such a long time. At the same time, this trip shows behind the scenes that often remain hidden. All our doubts, fears, insecurities, and even the resistance to internal arise when we begin to question everything they believe to be true. And it is precisely at this point that the transformation becomes more and more real, because we face our own shadow, that part of us that would prefer to keep everything as it is by the fear of change or losing what we've done. But at the same time, this is a golden opportunity to reinvent who we are and who we can become. After all, it's not a lot of change to happen without a little bit of discomfort, which is without a dose of courage to move forward, even when everything seems to be up in the air. And along the way, the truth and hides it comes up as an invitation to a discussion. To what extent are we really free to choose our paths? What are the truths that we accept them without question, many of the times, for the sake of convenience or out of fear of breaking what is already known? These questions are crucial because they will lead us to understand that transformation transformation is not just a matter of willingness, but a journey of discovery. Self-awareness is the key to unlocking the deeper layers of our being. And in doing so, we realize that in our own truth can be a powerful driver of impact. It is able to make not only our lives, but also the lives of those around us. And so, every decision, every reflection, every step is taken with a conscience will lead you to a new step in this journey of self-transformation. Because, at the end of the day, it all comes down to our willingness to challenge what we have is limited and embracing a new reality, where your mindset is the most powerful tool to build a life in alignment with our dreams as the most authentic. And in doing so, we become the agents of change that begins on the inside, but that reverberates around the globe, having an impact on the essence of our history in a way that it is not always possible to predict in advance. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation does not occur only in the external actions or decisions that fleeting, but above all, the changes are silent on what happens in our minds, in our lives. It is like a bridge to the invisible, which connects to who we are, what we can get, and that connection will only become stronger when we understand that the journey of self-discovery is, in effect, a revolution on the inside. Many times, we look for changes in the external and believing that they're going to resolve our internal conflicts, but the impact is when we begin to question our own beliefs, patterns, and constraints. This is a process that requires courage, because to face the truth hidden inside of us, it's not always a comfortable one. These are the truths which very often avoid or deny that carry the greatest potential for change. When we pause to reflect on our decisions in the past, we have realized that they have been shaped by a mindset that has been built up over the course of the time, often without notice. And this is where it comes to the importance of a fresh perspective, a mindset that is more open, which will allow us to see beyond the obvious, beyond what we've been taught from childhood. The real difference is also related to the impact we can make on our world, but that this effect only happens on the way, so genuine, when we align with our inner truth. It's like a chain of influence that begins on the inside, then the behavior and the echo of those that are around us. This connection between the internal and the external, it reveals that every choice, every decision, you have the power to change not only the way, but it is also in the path of those who follow in our journey. And when you understand it, you start to realize that our transformation is, in fact, it's a chance to make an impact on the world in a way that is more conscious and deliberate. All of this brings us to a crucial point. The more we deepen our understanding of who we are, the more we realize that all the answers that we are looking out for us, most of the time and within ourselves. It's a matter of courage for you to explore on this journey, the willingness to face your own shadows, and with a determination to build a new life, which is based on the true values, because at the end of the day, the biggest revelation of them all is that the real change begins with the choice of being honest with, even if it challenges everything we think we know about ourselves. He writes in, "I'm on this journey too. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the transformation that you are looking for, is not just a change in the appearance of a routine new to her. She is a real revolution in the house. And this revolution requires a heart that is not always taught in school or in society. It is a process of deconstruction, to look within and confront those parts of ourselves that we would prefer to keep secret, those who have a fear that if they feel unsafe and that they are resistant to changing. And this resistance is often caused by what we call the truth is hidden, limiting beliefs that have been planted in our minds since childhood, examples of distorted success, and for all your comments, which we have marked, or even experiences that, at the time, it seemed to scare the others to be dealt with. When we begin to explore these behind the scenes in our own psychology, we find that the greatest battle is not out there, but in all of us. Every decision we make, every choice we make, is based on the influence that these concepts are deeply rooted. For this reason, the change begins with the willingness to question this truth, and of dismantling them, and especially to be very honest with ourselves, because the only way we were able to create a new narrative, a story that is aligned with who we truly are and who we want into our lives. And it is this narrative, in turn, has a direct impact on our journey of transformation, to shape every step you take, every decision, and every small victory. And this is where you come to understand that the impact of a genuine change goes far beyond beyond what we can see on the surface. When you decide to take on that responsibility, we can begin to reveal the truth hidden in that many people would prefer to hide, which is our real strength lies in our vulnerability and our capacity to admit you are not perfect. They have doubts, fears, and even your failures. And by agreeing to these aspects, we take the first step to creating a growth mindset, a mindset that allows us to learn from their mistakes and evolve continuously with no pressure for perfection out of reach. On the other hand, the journey is not linear. There are moments of doubt. It is of the back of them to the deeper it can seem daunting. But at the same time, these moments are crucial because they can be used as mirrors to reflect our more challenging. When we make these mirrors in the tools of self-awareness, we realize that each challenge is an opportunity to improve. It is as if we were building a new one, which is based on the self-confidence, authenticity, and purpose. And this requires, in particular, is a daily determination to stay true to what you believe in, even when the outside world tries to divert us from the path. To deepen this understanding, we realize that true change will also involve a change in our way of thinking and decision-making. Decide for yourself, to decide on the courage, to decide by what we feel to be the truth, the more in-depth. And that decision is, at times, it can seem like a lonely one, because it challenges the status quo, to break the old standard, and it requires a position of leadership on the inside. It is these decisions. It is often small. It will create a profound impact on our way, because they will shape not only who we are, but also who we can become. And during this time, a look behind the scenes of our soul's will, revealing the secrets that were hidden under the layers of fear. It is a process of release, to let go of the beliefs that we have been limited for so long, and of a host of new possibilities, hope, and trust. The truth is hidden, is that when you be free of these shackles inside, we've found a potential is nearly endless, with a strength you never knew you had, because he was sleeping under the dust of the doubt. And then, when you wake up to this potential, we begin to see life in a different way, with a very easy to use, with more of a purpose, and with a genuine desire to evolve every day. For this reason, in this journey of transformation, is not just a matter of achieving the goals of the outside, but to become someone who does not live aligned with your deepest values. This is a real revolution from the inside to the outside, where they each made a conscious decision reinforces that the new commitment to authenticity. And in it, you realize that it's the much more powerful and comes from within, not from a change in attitude, which is reflected in the way we see the world and in our actions, and above all, in his or her ability to resist the temptation of comfort and fear. After all, it is the real freedom, is to take on those who are, in fact, with all our imperfections, and to build a life that resonates with that of authenticity. And, as long as the journey progresses, one thing is clear. With each step forward with the courage and honesty, it is a seed that we have planted in the good soil of our hearts and minds. And it is this seed that, with time, it germinates into a sturdy tree, the fruits of peace, self-confidence, and the confidence of who we are on the right track. Because deep down, that this is the greatest revelation of all. It's a real transformation happens when we choose to be true to ourselves, even if that means to explore uncharted territory, to face our own shadow, and finally, to find out what is the real power has always been within us, just waiting for the right moment to bloom. He comments that it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the journey of self-discovery is a journey filled with different nuances that are often hidden beneath the surface of our everyday lives. It is as if, in the course of time, to create a kind of mask in order to protect the things that, more often than not, the thing that really set us apart. And that mask, it often becomes so strong, so compelling, that you end up forgetting who we are to the truth. Behind the scenes in this story, there is a battle of quiet between what you show to the world and what they felt at the very core of our being. This internal struggle is the first step in any transformation is genuine, because it is only when we face our shadow, our doubts and fears the worst is, that you can really make up who we really are. And so it goes to the issue of the decision. Each and every choice that we make in our journey to reflect a level of courage that you have to be authentic. No point in pretending that all is well, and that you're happy just because society expects it of us. Real change will only happen when we have the courage to own up to our faults, to accept that it's not always the path is linear and easy. Many times you need to have a breakdown to rebuild it, and in this relation it may seem painful, but it is precisely in begin this process of reconstruction, we find that it really gives us a sense of the connection with our inner selves, the truth that is hidden, that which is many, many times. We can see it or understand it. When you understand that the authenticity of it is an act of courage, you start to realize that the transformation is not something that comes from outside and inside. It is an internal movement with a decision we made all day, but barely noticeable. And that decision, however small they may seem to you, it has the power to impact the whole of the journey. Because deep down, all of the things that we do with a genuine intention echoes in our own reality, creating an impact that many of the times we were not able to gauge right away. It's like a seed that can be planted with love and truth. Will it germinate slowly until it blooms in a way that is surprising to people who have less of a believer in the transformation? However, this is a journey of transformation. It also reveals some of the backstage secrets. There is a truth to hide, which says that too often we are our biggest obstacle. We, ourselves, have created invisible barriers that seem impossible to overcome, and that is only the beginning of the fall when we choose to face them. At this time, the change becomes inevitable because we understand that the greatest impact on our ability to decide to drop out of the hold of a limited edition version of We Are the Same. And in doing so, we have started to look beyond the surface, beyond the expectations of others, and we discover that the real power has always been within our reach, just waiting for a conscious decision for it to be turned on. From that point on, the journey becomes a kind of revelation is a continuous process, with each step taken in the direction of the authenticity and bring a new layer of understanding, courage, self-love. And at the same time, we are faced with the questions, with the insecurities that seem like they are trying to make us give up. But then comes the one important factor that many people miss, the power of a mindset that is aligned with your inner truth. When we got to keep the focus on the core of it, of course, the more you take, even in the face of a storm. It's as if, when you look at the inside, we find a map that will guide us through the tracks which had, until then, had appeared, which were banned by the fears and limiting beliefs. And that's where the real transformation is starting to take shape, because we understand that it is a look behind the scenes of our lives are written on our own. Every decision is a page that can be filled with the courage, honesty, and self-esteem, or fear, silence, and conformity. The large balcony is when you decided to be true to ourselves and everything around us starts to change. Our impact in the world, our relationships, and our vision for the future, it all becomes a kind of internal restructuring, which, in turn, is reflected in our outer reality. And that connection between the inside and outside, and that's what makes the journey is as powerful as it is as eye-opening as it is true. And while all this is happening, there's a sense of freedom, which was established more slowly. The freedom that comes from understanding that we may be able to choose who we want to be, regardless of what other people think or what society expects. This freedom comes from the recognition that the greatest impact we can make is in our own life, our own history, and each decision as to authenticity, it is a seed that one day you will blossom into something great. And in spite of all the doubts and obstacles that arise in the strength of the path that lies in the knowledge that it's the true transformation occurs only when we allow ourselves to be whole, with all our imperfections, vulnerabilities, and strengths. Now, as I reflect back on all of this, it is clear that the journey of self-discovery is a constant finding, a movement that calls for courage, patience, and most importantly, the provision contained in listening to our own voice, even if it is hidden under layers of noise on the outside. Because at the bottom of this journey is about rediscovering our inner selves, the one with a brightness that never went off, but a lot of times it is hidden by the opinions of others, for any questions or for a deep-seated fear of being who you really are. And that's a rematch with the fact that we find the strength to move forward, transformed, lighter weight, more aware of the fact that the greatest revolution starts within each and every one of us. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation does not change the external or the fast-paced action, but it is, above all, by an internal reconstruction of a silent revolution that is happening in the deeper layers of our being. It is as if, in the course of time, a series of layers of sediment were accumulated to form a kind of invisible wall that takes us away from our true essence. These layers are formed by the limiting beliefs, fears, and expectations of others, and even trauma. A lot of times, we don't really know what we carry in ourselves. ourselves. And the most amazing is that in order to break through that wall, you need to immerse yourself within yourself in a way that not many people prevent, or they just don't know where to start. In the quest for that truth is hidden. It requires courage. It is a process of auto-exploration that many times it says something that we would prefer to keep hidden. There, in the privacy of our inner being, we encounter questions that seem to be insurmountable, the memories that haunt us, and it's a quiet voice that insists on telling us that we are not capable, that you're not good enough, or that the world is out there. It's more secure than our own soul. But, at the same time, there are also the seeds of our greatest strength, and the answers that you seek to it for so long, hidden beneath layers of fear and resistance. It's as if, when you dig out those deep-rooted, we could be able to gain access to a never-ending source of energy, creativity, and authenticity. In this moment of self-knowledge and intense, a lot of times we are confronted with a revelation that changes everything. Our true essence. It was never really lost. She was asleep, yes, but it has never ceased to exist, like a spark that just needs a little push to reignite your fire. And the push comes to the realization that we are more than our failures, more than our doubts and limitations. We are in a constant state of evolution, able to reinvent yourself at any point. You just decide to look inside, and you have to accept that the journey of transformation begins with the courage to face up to our own truth. To understand this dynamic, we see that the change is not a one-off event, an achievement in a given moment, but it's a daily practice. It's a routine choices from small actions that, when added together, are going to mold a new reality. And in the process, it's our mindset plays a very important role. She became the fertile ground where the seed of the renewal you can grow. Grow positive thoughts, practice gratitude, and develop empathy for self and others. All of these are actions that promote this transformation, creating a sort of ripple effect that impacts all aspects of our lives. However, it is not always that the journey is straightforward and free of obstructions. Many times, the greatest challenges come from within. In the manner of the old ways, the voice is a critical insists. We keep you in the zone for comfort and a resistance to emotional that seems insurmountable. There is a desire to evolve and put it to the test, where every decision is an opportunity to reinforce our quest for authenticity. The truth is hidden, that we have found it is not a revelation to the surface, but the key to unlocking all the potential that lies dormant in all of us. When we were able to make that connection, everything changes, and that our perception of the world, and if you zoom in, the limits of which before seemed to be insuperable if you make a bridge for the new ground, and in the hope of living a life more aligned with who you really are, it becomes a tangible reality. And while this is a journey of self-discovery takes place, behind the scenes of our minds, they begin to uncover secrets that had been hidden under layers of denial. These findings may generate uncomfortable, yes, but you will also feel a sense of relief from the deep, as we are finally leaving you to fight against your own truth. It is a process of acceptance, which very often it requires patience, compassion, and a dose of courage to move forward, even when everything seems to be up in the air. After all, that's the true transformation is not a destination. It's a daily walk, an appointment to meet at every step, to rediscover the beauty of imperfections, the power of vulnerability, and in the hope that at the end of the day, we'll be more closely aligned with our inner selves, to be free, to live more fully and accurately. Now, as I reflect back on all of this, it is clear that the impact of such a change within the echo in every aspect of our lives, influencing our decisions, our relationships, and even our way of looking at the world. And it is this connection that is so deep. The truth is often uncovers a truth that hides only a few have the courage to admit it. That's the most transformative thing happens when you look at the inside with a sincere heart. And we've decided to, once and for all, that it's time to get back to that in the limit and become who you really are. And then, in a movement of self-awareness, we discover that the real power lies in our ability to choose each day to be the best version of themselves, regardless of the external circumstances. Because deep down, that it is the greatest gift that you can make for us to take control of our own history and, guided by the light of our essence, is pure and true. He writes that, "The truth right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line because that is one of the biggest revelations of what we can do for such a voyage of self-discovery is to see what the real impact of our transformation is far beyond just the motions. It takes place in the way we see the world, and in our minds, in the way that we interpret the situations that are around us. Many of the times, we believe that the change from the outside is to gain a new job, lose weight, gain material assets, are the pinnacle of our evolution. But in reality, it all starts in your head, in your inner vision, our ability to open our eyes to the hidden truth that often remain invisible in the face of the noise of everyday life. When we start to understand that the most important decisions are the ones that take it internally, we see how every choice, however small it may seem, it has the potential to make a profound transformation. These are the internal decision-making that shapes our power, our attitude in the face of life, and the way in which we face obstacles, and how to welcome him to the win. It's kind of like a journey of self-transformation that happens every day, in the silence of the mind, from the routine of the choices that we make in the workplace, in a relationship with the people, and in relation to ourselves. These small actions are accumulated to create a domino effect that affects the whole of our impact on the world, and especially our sense of wholeness. And then, when we grow in our understanding of the dynamics, we can begin to understand that true freedom lies in our ability to decide who you want to be, regardless of the external circumstances. One thing that few realize is that many of the limitations that we believe may be, it is fear, self-doubt, or a limiting belief, it is the buildings that are in your head. They can also be deconstructed one at a time, with the same ease with which we can build new thoughts, new possibilities. This is the power of the transformation of the mental, is a tool that is often overlooked, but it left an immense power to change. If you think about it, you also begin to understand that the journey of self-discovery is a kind of a shift in paradigms. With each revelation, each and every insight, it is a piece that fits in the construction of a new mentality, which is more in tune with who you really are and what you want to achieve. This is a change of perspective. It's not something that happens overnight, but it is a continuous process in which each made a conscious decision reinforces that this is the new narrative of the inside. And then, over time, this narrative, if that makes the truth, a truth that fuels our actions, that it was our hope, that fuels our courage to move forward even in the face of adversity. It is fascinating to perceive how such a transformation of the internal echoes out, having a great impact on our relationships, our career choices, our emotional health. When we can align our minds with the core of the purest, most all of it seems to come more naturally. Obstacles no longer seem insurmountable because our environment has been changed. We went to see the possibilities of where we could see the boundaries. It is not a matter of willpower or by the effort is hard, but a change of mindset, a new way of looking at the world through the eyes of the truth that is found in all of us. At that point, it becomes clear that the journey to self-knowledge, it is also a day of its release. Free yourself from the burden of the beliefs that we are in the trap, of the expectation that draw us away from our inner selves, and of the opinions of others. They often dictate our decisions. When you free yourself from these shackles inside, we were able to create a new reality, one that is truly our own. It is in the area of freedom, which we set out to build a life that is aligned with our deepest values, our dreams, the most important. Now, I want you to go even deeper on this subject, because it is the realization that we are the architects of our own reality, and it is the key to powerful that you just are on time. When we take on this responsibility, and we realize that every thought, every decision is a key part of the great mosaic of life, and at the same time, we have found that the change we seek in the outside world is a direct result of the changes that we make in-house. So, we went on a kind of virtuous cycle, where the evolution of the inner impetus to the transformation of the external, which in turn strengthens our minds renewed, thus creating a downward spiral of growth. To understand this connection, it gives us a sense of control and ownership of our own history, of which, instead of being the victims of circumstance, we are the authors of the assets of our story. And it is precisely this awareness that makes us look at our own actions in a way that is more conscious, more deliberate, knowing that every step forward is to build on our legacy. This is the essence of waking up to a real transformation, a journey that takes courage, autoconviction, and above all, a genuine desire to evolve beyond the limitations that oftentimes we create in our own minds. In order for all this to become a reality, easy. It's solid. It is necessary to cultivate a growth mindset, a mindset that takes the challenges as well as opportunities to learn, so you see the difficulty as key steps in the journey that you believe in the possibility of change. When we are able to bring that perspective, we come to realize that our greatest strength comes from within, a space of peace and clarity that you can access wherever you have decided to get in touch with our deeper truth. And in that space, it's a lighter, more authentic, more in line with what you really are and want it to be. And so, in this story of self-discovery and transformation, turns out to be a very powerful tool with an impact that goes far beyond what we can imagine on the surface. She invites you to plunge into the depths of our inner selves and to discover the truth hidden. It is often ignored out of fear or comfort. And in doing so, we become the agents of change, not only in our own lives, but also for those around us, influencing others with authenticity and strength to all the people who cross our path. Because deep down, this is the most important journey you can undertake, to become the best version of the guidance in the light of our inner truth, and the courage to transform our own lives from the inside to the outside. He comments that the truth. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the real transformation doesn't happen overnight. It is a continuous process that requires patience, self-awareness, and a disposition proper to face your own limitation. Many times, when we are so immersed in the routine, on the outside expectations and opinions of others, that we forget to look inside and question what's really on the move. And it is precisely at this moment of insight that we have found all the hidden truths that were hidden beneath layers of fear, doubt, and uncertainty. These findings, when taken with honesty, act as a catalyst for change, urging us to make more informed decisions that are aligned with who we really are and the impact you want to leave out in the world. The journey of transformation begins in the mind and the mentality that we cultivate on a daily basis. It is important to understand that our thoughts shape our actions, and our actions build on our results, and those results are, in turn, reinforce our own thoughts. It's a powerful chain, but it is often highlighted in the cycle of fear or out of your comfort zone. The truth is hidden. It is often that we, ourselves, are major obstacles to change because we think that we will not be able to, or that what we really want is out of reach. And here comes the importance of a change in mindset. A new narrative is built, which allows us to see possibilities where before you could only see the obstacles. This change of mind is a real revolution in the homeland. It is about having the courage to face those inner voices that say it can't be done. It's best to stay the same, or that is what you want to do is a distant dream, too. When we can silence these voices, we provide the space so that the true essence of the manifest. And it is this essence. This often is a quiet but powerful, and it connects us with our deepest values and gives us the motivation moving forward, even in the face of adversity. It is a journey of self-discovery that reveals our own potential, the hidden talent that you were put to sleep, and the passion that too often we leave aside for the fear of failure, or because we think we are not worthy. In the course of the process, we discover that our everyday decisions have a direct impact on our development. For each choice, as small as it may seem to you, it's like a seed planted in the soil of our history. And, as we cultivate the good decisions that are aligned with our truth, we can begin to notice the change happening from the inside to the outside. This change is more than skin deep. It permeates our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions. And then, over time, this change is reflected in the way in which we relate to the people, in the way that we look at the challenges, and the strength that we gain from moving forward, even when it seems tough. But the thing that really made all the difference in the journey to authenticity. Don't even try to follow a route that does not match up with who you are, in fact. Authenticity is the common thread that connects our actions, our very essence, and it is this that will ensure that the transformation to be sustainable, and it is true. When we become true to ourselves, we were able to have a positive impact on those around us, without the need to impose your views, just by being a living example that it is possible to change, to evolve, and attain a life that is more in tune with our dreams. And that influence, that power of change, it ends up creating a bigger impact than we can imagine, because in turn inspire others to also seek their own truth. As we move forward on this journey, we begin to see life from a new perspective that is more conscious, more deliberate. We realize that it's the true transformation is not in perfection, but in the courage to move forward, even with all the errors errors and uncertainties. Each and every offense, it is an opportunity to learn, to adjust the path, and to reaffirm our commitment to our development. This is a journey that is made up of small, everyday actions and tasks that seem simple, but, as a whole, they create a wave of powerful force for change. And it is this consistency that leads us to discover our full potential and to unlock the limit and make room for what really matters, a life in alignment with our inner selves and of our deepest truth. Now, as I reflect back on all of this, it is clear that the greatest change happens when we take responsibility for our own lives, when we seek for reasons outside and started to look inside the door. Thus, we find that all the answers that we have always been there, in the silence of our inner selves, waiting for the right time to be revealed. And in addition to allowing the truth to come to light, we set out to build an all-new story, a story of courage, authenticity, and impact. Because deep down, this is the most important journey you can undertake, to become the best version of the guidance in the light of our inner truth, and the courage to transform our own lives from the inside to the outside. He comments that, the truth. If you've come this far, it's because I really connected with this message, and you are interested in making their own history as well as the courage to be who you really are. I'm happy with this time, because it is this connection that makes all the difference in our journey of growth and authenticity. Take the time to leave a review, saying, "I'm with you till the end," or something to show you that this message has touched you in some way. So you can change even the most experienced and to strengthen the community of people who seek to grow and develop, and you understand it better. And of course, if that kind of content is brought a lot of insight, or did you think about it, don't forget to leave a like. It helps to keep this space alive, bringing out even more of the matters that will inspire you and help you to move forward with a more lightly on the planet and trust. After all, it is this connection that we created in the course of the video is the one that makes it all the more special, don't you think? If you like this forum, there's a video right here on the side which complements the idea of self-discovery and transformation. Click there and still am to this by-step in this journey of discovery. I'm pretty sure it's going to be worth it. Or continue to explore these topics with us. Thank you for being here until the end and to be a part of this growing movement. I hope to see you in the next video, where we'll continue to open the doors to a life closer to the truth, which is lighter and more in tune with who you really are. See you there.